Got it down. That or she's really ready to leave, you know? Which is probably the case. Truth be told. All right, go with me to the Gospel according to John. Gospel according to John. That's not 1 John or 2 John or 3 John. It's not the book of Revelation, which was also written by John. But instead, we're talking about the Gospel that was written by John. And we're going to go to chapter 15 of John. So St. John, the Gospel according to St. John, chapter 15. Notice these words here, and they may sound familiar to you. I am going to read this week from the New Living Translation. And so you may, if you don't have that translation and you're not good with like following along with that, you may just want to hear the Word of God. So I invite you, no matter how you're going to hear it, whether it's reading it along with me or hearing the sound of my voice, let us, Holy Spirit, hear your voice. This is 15 and verse 12. This is my commandment. Love each other in the same way I have loved you. There is no greater love than to lay down one's life for one's friends. You are my friends if you do what I command. I no longer call you slaves because a master doesn't confide in his slaves. Now you are my friends, since I have told you everything the Father told me. You see, you didn't choose me. I chose you. I appointed you to go and produce lasting fruit, so that the Father will give you whatever you ask for using my name. This is my command. Love each other. Jesus, the same Jesus who said these very words with a human voice, that when they were entered into the atmosphere, they have never stopped reverberating, echoing through time. For 2,000 years now, these very words have been spoken and respoken, lived and lived again in others. Lord, may it be today that we hear them for the very first time with new ears. Lord, may we actually hear your voice this morning as we look at your word, as we look to you, Jesus, the author of our story, the finisher of the race. We pray it in your name. Amen. You say, hey, buddy, I don't know what happened this week, but you actually preached on this last week. Yeah, I know, okay, I know. But I could not get this, if you will, voice out of my head. And I'm just gonna tell you what's sort of been in my mind all week, bouncing around. It's the same thing, so it's very clear to me. I didn't have to write it down because it's just been in my mind all week long. And it's this: Jesus wants to be your friend. And you say, that's what we talked about last week. Yeah. It's kind of like the preacher who was new to a new church. You know, this church brought in a new preacher, and first week he preached on, loving one another, like we're doing here. And the next week he preached on the same thing, and they were like, okay, all right. Well, the third week he preached on the same thing. Several of them were concerned and starting to talk to the board of stewards and so on and so forth about, hey, is he all right? Like, does he not know how to preach anything else? And then, so the fifth week, finally, the lay leader finally had the courage to just go up and say, hey, listen, what's going on? You keep preaching this same message, love one another every single week. He says, well, until everybody starts doing it, we can't move on to anything new. And here's what's been in my head is that that today, whether it's, I don't know if it's on Facebook Live, someone watching, or if they're here today, but that Jesus actually wants to make a new friend. In other words, there's somebody, and that's, I'm just telling you, that's what's been in my head all week long, is I want him, he just said constantly to me, every time I prayed about what I should preach on, I want a new friend, and they're going to be here. Now, they think they're my friend. They're doing stuff in my name, but they don't know me. They don't know me. They don't know me in my marriage and their marriage. They don't know me in their work. They only know me when they're at church. They only know me when they put on their Christian hat. And just like the rest of their life, they compartmentalize their life. But I want to be their friend. And friends don't do that. This is a famous saying, if the enemy, the devil, Satan, can't make you bad, he'll make you busy. In other words, if he can't make you evil, which you don't look like evil people to me, but if you did, I'd kind of be on my little headset. And, hey, I think we got a problem. I'm just kidding. I don't have one of those. But it'd be cool if I did, you know. No, you don't look evil to me. I think all of you probably are doing better than me. You're probably closer to God than me in my mind. I'm like, man, I'm the one lagging behind. Truly. But here's the thing. It doesn't matter what we look like on the outside, does it? It matters what's in our heart. It really does matter who we know. And we can say what we know about God, and that is something. And I love knowing about God. Theology, interpretation of the Scriptures, all of that good stuff that is necessary, our doctrine that we reaffirm every single week. But if we never get around to knowing Jesus Christ in here, if we never get around to Jesus in us, that's a whole new concept. But that's the way this chapter begins. I in you, and you in me. You are the branches. I'm the vine. I'm the root system. I'm the trunk of the tree. You're the branches. If you do not abide in me, you're cut off, thrown into the fire. You won't produce any fruit. And you know, I've been there. Many times I've been there where I'm just working away, you know, and I'm getting frustrated. And I'm saying, why is this not working? Like, why is my marriage not working? Why is my money not working? God, I'm working for you, man. Like, what's going on here? I thought if we know the blessed one, we're supposed to be blessed. Nothing seems to be going right. Anything just tips you off the scale. And then there's this whisper that I myself have been reminded of very recently. And that is, why are you doing all this anyway? Are you doing it to be impressive? Are you doing it to look smart? Are you doing it to get friends and benefits? Why are you here? It's like the Lord wants to ask us today, why are you here? Like, it's good that you're here. I'm glad that you're here. I like seeing you. Truly. But why do we come today? Was it just to go through the motions? Was it just to make ourselves feel better? Was it to do something that we know the kids need? Or did we actually come to meet with our friend. Like, because I think if you were, look, we all go to meetings, I'm sure. Jessica has been a stay-at-home worker for a long time. Even she has meetings, all right, that she goes to. But here's the thing. When we go to a meeting, we're like, oh, yeah, I got to prepare for this meeting. I got to go to this meeting. Some of you have meetings about meetings. It's like, hey, let's meet for an hour about meeting next week for an hour and about meeting next. It's like, goodness, those get boring, don't they? Listen, but all of a sudden if somebody says, hey, let's go hang out, and they're your friend, is that something that's hard to go to? It's like, hey, let's go play together. However you play in your life, whether it's watching movies together or you're shooting together or, golfing together or whatever it is, it's like, that's not a meeting that's hard to go to, is it? Yeah, sometimes the way I come in here is rushing around and doing this and that. And it's like, man, if I'm meeting with my friend, how different does that change things, right? Is anybody else with me on this? It's like, because here's the thing. If my friend calls me up and says, hey, let's go grab something. It's like, I don't have to do any preparation for that. Why? Because they're my friend. I'm not there to put on a show. I'm not there to get all dressed up and act like somebody that I'm not. It's like today Jesus is saying, look, just stop. Stop doing all that stuff. Stop doing all that stuff and let's just be friends. Like, just talk to me like I'm really here, because guess what? He is. And He loves you, and He doesn't want you to be living in fear. He doesn't want you to be living in anxiety. And He doesn't want you depressed. And He doesn't want you to feel lonely. And He doesn't want you to feel like you got to quit. Because what are we quitting? Our friend? You see? And that's where the Lord, who is my friend, has to sometimes say to me, why are you doing this? Like, what do you want to quit from? What do you want to go on from? Me? See, it's not so much what we do vocationally that matters. Just because I'm a pastor doesn't mean I'm better than you. I can tell you that. You live with me, you'd know that. No, it's all about being a friend to Jesus. That's why we were made. That's why He did all of this stuff. And He gave you all these, it's crazy in this room. We have so many different gifts, and we're so different, and all this kind of, and He loves that. It's like, He gave you gifts, and He gave you gifts. He gives you all this stuff. And He wants you to enjoy it. He wants you to play. He wants you to see your work, yes, your job, as play, as an expression of your love for Him. Now, I don't know how that works in your line of work. But I know in my own line of work, sometimes I get depressed. Sometimes feel like I'm the only one, and I'm just like getting on to people all the time, like kids. I'm like, hey, I might want to do that. We probably don't need to do this. And all. It's like that gets, like even with my own kids, I get tired of saying no, right? Anybody with me on that? It's like, gee whiz, can you please just do something good for once so I can say, oh, look at there. And sometimes it gets difficult, and many times I get busy. And when I get busy, guess what? I don't spend time with my friend. When you don't spend time with your friend, you're not doing the very thing, the very purpose for which we're all created. I asked my children the other day, I said, what is a friend? Because sometimes I'll look up these words and I'm like, Oxford, Webster, these guys, they don't really have the best definition, So I asked them, they said, well, friend's somebody you play with, And playing, hobbies, things that we enjoy doing, it's always better with a friend, isn't it? You know what I'm saying? Like if you have something that you like It's like, man, you like that too? Let's go do that, right? And then all of a sudden, you get into something, and you start digging it, and you're like getting better at it, and then all of a sudden you see somebody else that's new to it, and guess what you want to help them, right? Anybody ever experienced that? You're like, hey, let me. You're not just trying to get out there and like, yeah, watch this, buddy. And then oh, wow, that's great. Yeah, you'll never do that. It's like, yeah. That's not what you do. Instead, you say, hey, let me show you how to do this. This is crazy. Like I used to be just like that. I used to hit the ball, and it went all sideways and all this. But now, watch this. If you'll just do this. Yesterday I did like a little duathlon, right? And there was this guy there. He was like, I could tell he was nervous. He was going around. He was like, hey, what I need to do with this thing? He had his ankle bracelet on his wrist, and I was like, hey, you might want to drop that down here, And I was trying to I was trying to help. I wasn't like, man, you're an idiot, dude. You're never gonna make it. Like, good riddance. Don't get near me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want you to wreck into me. Like, that's not your attitude when you love something. When you're playing, it's better together, right? So I was like, man, yeah. I said, dude, look, I would do this, and I was just trying to help him out a little. Not that I'm an expert, trust me, I'm out there huffing and puffing trying to get my own thing done. But what I noticed in the race community is that people are so encouraging. People are just so it's like, I remember this one dude, it wasn't this race that I was in yesterday, because I actually encouraged somebody. I felt pretty good. I was like, oh, man, I'm doing well enough to where I can breathe and can encourage someone, So I was like, I actually was like, this woman went past, and she was really strong. I was like, hey, you got it. We're almost there. She's like, all right, But trust me, before yesterday, I was in another race, and it was tough, and I was really, really wanting to walk. And I'm sitting there running, and this guy, he was like a military dude, I guess, because he comes up to me, he says, we're almost there. Actually, I had stopped. That's what it was. I was walking. He goes, let's go. Let's go right now. Let's run right now. And I did. I just obeyed him. I'm like, all right, let's see. I'm serious. And it was that little bit of push because look, several other people would pass me. Guess what? They didn't say anything to me. They didn't say anything to me. So guess what? I'm just sitting there. The reason I was walking was because there was this long line of shade. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, God's like, let's go. He actually just told me what to do, and I was like very appreciative, so I just started running. And I actually finished it and didn't walk again. Now, what's the point of that, you say? It's this. In the church, sometimes we just pass by people. I don't care. I'm just trying to focus on I got to finish my own race, man. And sometimes all it really takes, seriously, is just a little word. It's like, hey, just keep going, man. I know it's hard, but let's go. Let's go together. Because I guarantee you, if I was by myself, I'd be walking still. If nobody else was out there running and encouraging me, I'd be walking. But there's a whole community of runners that I feel like I'm friends with now, even though I never have considered myself a runner. I feel like I'm part of the group, You know what? Maybe you don't feel like you're a real Christian. You're like, man, I don't know. There's just so much. There's more that I need to do than I've done. But here's the thing. I'm here to encourage you today and say, hey, let's just start running. Let's not worry about that next loop we got to make. You know what I mean? Because let me tell you, that poor race I was in, hot as yesterday was and today will be. And once you got done with one loop, it was like, there's the finish line, and you got to keep going a whole nother loop. You got to put that away, man. Let me just tell you, you're going to be done. And some of us, we're looking too far down the line. We're saying, oh, well, I can't, I'm not, there's no way I can forgive that person. Well, look, let's just start today with forgiving yourself from where you've been, and let's start running. Let's do it together, because we're not going to do it alone. We'll stop if we're alone. That's what friends do, right? That's what friends do. That's what we call a friend. And you know what? Jesus wants to be our friend. He wants to be our comforter. He even sends the Comforter, who is the Holy Spirit, in order to help us be His friend. He already is the best friend. Remember what the text says? I chose you. I chose you. I appointed you. And you know what? The other week, I'll just be honest with you, I was struggling. I wanted to quit. I wanted to quit what I've been doing. I really did. It's not like a ploy in my sermon, you know. It's my life. And I just was getting to be in a dark place, thinking about what all I've been able to do, and, you know, approaching 40, and you're like, man, people got to be disappointed in me, you know. I mean, that's all I've been able to eke out. I really wanted to quit. And my dad, it took my dad in our band meeting, Justin was there, my brother, looking at me in my face and saying, Jesus called you to do this. He called you to be with him. This is the way he wants you to be with him. Now for you, whether you're, I don't know what you are, office manager, you know, engineer person, somebody supporting the government, I don't know. But he called you to do that, probably, unless you need to quit. He called you to do that to be with him. He didn't call you to do that so it'd take you away from him. And let me tell you, pastoral ministry, it's not always tough. Now, I know your job's tough and all that, but it's a different kind of tough. I might not have the same hours you do and all this kind of stuff. There's a weight. It's a weight of people's lives. That's all right. Jesus felt that weight. He felt that weight. And he says this, my yoke is easy and it's light. But old Marshall, he gets over there trying to carry everything on his own. All right, I can do it, Lord. Don't worry. I got this, man. I want you to pat me on the back after I do this, you know. And the weight just continues to grow. Because guess what? I'm not going his direction anymore. Because you know how a yoke works, right? I get yoked together, and you're supposed to be going the same way. A lot of resistance when you're trying to go the other way, and the other bull or ox or whatever it is over there is a lot stronger than you. And Jesus is a lot stronger than me, and so when I start trying to go the other way, I get a lot of resistance. Anybody hear what I'm saying? I hurt my friend because I worried too much about my results. I worried too much about what I do and not who I'm with. And I'm just publicly confessing to you that because you're my friend. And I don't think you're going to condemn me for that because that's what should happen in a place of his body where he is. We're with friends. And let me tell you, if you want the shepherd to get out his, you know, there's two things that we use, a rod and a staff, right? Shepherding. You want me to get out my rod? It's when you start condemning each other. We don't do that. We don't do that here. It's just like I tell my students in my class, look, if you ask a dumb question, I'm there for you. You know what I mean? I'm not going to let anybody make fun of you in here. You can say whatever you want. It can be the dumbest thing in the world. I tell them that. It can be the dumbest thing, and there are some things that's the dumbest thing in the world. It's like, but I'm going to help you. I'm here to help you. I'm not here to say, oh, you are the dumbest one in the world. I'm here to help you. And I'll beat off whoever, boom, 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 I need to make sure that we have a place where we can confess. Not always publicly. It depends on what it is, all right? You come see me first. Don't just get up and start saying a bunch of stuff, all right? You know, let's be ordered about it, okay? But you get my point. And I'm saying to you, your pastor even loses his way sometimes and starts working for the wrong things. I'm not working for Jesus when he's my friend. See? Sometimes we come in here and it's like, oh, we got to do this, and I got to do that, and I got to volunteer here, and I got to do this, and check. He's our friend. He wants to be our friend. Now look, he doesn't want us to just be his fan. You know the difference, right, in a fan and a friend? Right? So like a fan, it's all about the celebrity, you know? And I've experienced this before. I mean, you know, I've been near people who are really famous, you know, for instance, like Dave Matthews. And it would have been awesome if all of a sudden somebody would have said, hey, you know what? He actually wants to meet you. I've been like, what? Me? Huh? I'm out amidst 12,000 people? Are you serious? I get to meet Dave. I can finally ask him what that meaning of that song was, you know? Now, see, a fan just is out there in the crowd. That's not what Jesus wants you to be. He doesn't want just fans. A lot of people are a fan of Jesus. I mean, all the way across world religions. Everybody loves Jesus in world religions, by the way. I mean, I hope you know that. Like Hindus, Buddhists, Islam, they all love Jesus. Now, it's a different kind of Jesus. That's the problem. That's because they're just a fan. They just like what he did, that he's famous. They know something took place that was, and maybe you're here today and you're just a fan. You know, you're just kind of grooving with everybody else in the concert. But here's what he's doing. He's calling to say, hey, I want to meet with you. Surely not me. Surely you. It is. And can you imagine that? Meeting a celebrity. Listen, I had the opportunity to meet a celebrity. It was Greg Maddux, my favorite pitcher ever with the Braves back in the day when they were so great and good, and they're not bad now. And we were at a water park, Justin and I, with our family, and Justin came over to me and he said, Greg Maddux is over there, like laid up at the kiddie pool. I was like, are you serious? We're like 12 years old, you know. He's like, yeah, I'm going to go meet him. And you know what I did? I stayed behind. My favorite guy. And I stayed behind. Why? Because I felt like I didn't know what to say. I mean, I really did. I felt like if I got over there, I'd just be some stupid little kid to him. And so my brother got to meet him, and I didn't. My favorite player wasn't his favorite player. His favorite player was another doofus. Don Mattingly. We never got to meet him. Sorry, Don, if you're watching. It's just a joke, man. And here's Greg Maddux, my favorite player. I was a favorite fan of his, and I was too afraid to meet him. And I really believe that happens to us with God. I think we just say, you know what, Lord, you don't want me, man. Like you don't know me and what I've gone. Like I've spit in your face so many times. I've not gone your way so many times. You don't want me. He doesn't want to hear from me. And you know what I'm here to tell you? Because I'm friends with him. He does. He wants to hear from you. Even with little things. Things that nobody else cares about. Every one of us has got a great battle happening at any given time in our hearts. I mean, that could literally take us down. I'm talking about great battles that we don't ever even let some of our close friends into. But this friend, Jesus, he wants in. He just wants to sit and share with you. And for you to share with him. Mother Teresa used to say that her prayer life, a lot of times consisted of sitting with God and not saying a word. Just listening. He's our friend. He doesn't want us to be a fan. He also doesn't want us to be a coworker. Can you imagine, like, you're like, look, I'm a coworker with Jesus, you know, and I'm doing a lot of work here, God. What are you doing? You know what I mean? It's like, I'm serious. We feel like that sometimes, don't we? Maybe you're not honest enough, but I am, okay? Sometimes I'm like, God, look, I did all this stuff, man. Where's the result here? Like, we're working together, you know what I'm saying? Like, where's the result? We become what's called triumphalistic. And that is to say, we demand from God action because we did something. It's all throughout the Bible. People did this, right? And it's all throughout our life, probably. It's like, Lord, I gave my money. I don't know where in the world the results are coming from. Like, things got worse for me. I forgave this person. They don't even care. I did the right thing at work and didn't get promoted. You see what I mean? Triumphalism. We think we're just a coworker. We're not. We're not. No, we're to be his friend. We're also not to be an acquaintance. You know, there's a difference in like a friend and an acquaintance. It's funny, the word acquaintance has a history behind it, like all words do, and the history behind it is to nod. Isn't that weird? Because that's what you do with acquaintances, right? Like there's some people at the gym that I go to that I see all the time, but I've never talked to them. You know what I'm saying? Like, why would I do that? No, I'm just kidding. It's like, I just never get, I mean, there's a lot of people in there, so it's like, but I see them, and I'm like, does everybody know what I'm talking about? By that little nod, you're like, yeah. You kind of just dart your eyes a little bit. You don't just be like, but they're just an acquaintance. You have never even talked to them. And some of us, I just got the picture. Some of us come to church every week, most weeks, and we just nod at God like, yeah, that's pretty good. I like that. It's good. All right, well, back to my life. And God is just an acquaintance. We're just nodding. Yeah. He wants to be your friend, not just somebody you never talk to. He's also not our buddy. We all have buddies. That's like, if I need something, I got a buddy for sheetrock. I got a buddy that does landscaping. I got a buddy that does this or that. If I have theological questions, I have buddies. Trust me. For certain, I needed to know a little bit about Stoicism the other day, and I'm like, I called one of my buddies who's a philosopher. Because that's what buddies do. They resource you, right? But God is not just wanting to be your resource. He actually wants to have a relationship with you. I mean, that's crazy, isn't it? I mean, He actually cares about your life. Maybe your life is extravagant. Mine isn't so much all the time. And yet He cares about me. Like, if He cares about me, I know He cares about you, because that's the way I feel a lot of times. Like, certainly care about that person. They're way better gifted than me. I mean, recently, I was somewhere, and for their sake, I won't say who it was, but I was at an event, and this person had never prayed out loud. And when they prayed out loud, the whole room was hushed by the power of their relationship with God and the intimacy that was in their prayer. They'd never even prayed in public before. They were kind of accidentally asked to do it. And I was blown away and thought to myself, my Lord, you've got friends that I don't even know about that are deep friends. They love you deeply. That is the case, isn't it? That God has friends all over the place. Like, if He wants to get something done, He's got a network of friends everywhere. You think your network's big? You don't have nothing? To use some bad English. Jessica and I were in Denver recently, and I had prayed about, the trips that I take and that we take and all this, and just say, Lord, do you even want us to go on this trip? What's the purpose of this trip? All this kind of stuff. And I really felt like the Lord wanted us to take this trip. It's kind of crazy, and we talked about it, and I even told Jessica, I was like, it's kind of crazy that the Lord wants us to go to Denver. Like, they smoke marijuana there, you know what I mean? I mean, not that people don't hear, but they do legally there. And so we go on this trip, and I kind of, and several things had lined up on the trip to where I was like, oh, well, that's pretty cool that works out like that. That would have been hard to kind of guess at, and the Lord allowed us, me particularly, to do something I'd never done before, and always kind of wanted to do. And so we were able to, and it wasn't smoke marijuana, okay? Gee whiz, I shouldn't have led with that. And then, it's like, oh, man, no wonder he was depressed, because sometimes that can happen. It's like, no, that wasn't, it was a Dave Matthews concert, okay? And so it was like the Lord lined this up. I mean, I really believe that. But I still was kind of, maybe He didn't. Maybe it just kind of worked out like that. And so we rent a car, and so we get into our rental car, and we're leaving. And, we just had landed, just got the rental car. We haven't even met anybody really yet. And we have to talk to this little dude in a booth, before, because it's a massive, I never had done that before with a rental car, but you just go get in one, and then you just leave, and then you stop at the gate. And this is a big black fella, and he just started, he said, hey, how's it going, da-da-da, and just kind of a friendly dude. It's like, oh, yeah, hey, this is our first experience at Denver, And when I reached out to give him my license, he said, what do you do for work? And I said, well, I'm actually a pastor. And he grabbed my arm. And, he had this is a big guy. He had a grip of death. Not that I'm not a little guy, but it's like he had a huge hand all of a sudden. And I couldn't go anywhere. And I had my hand out. We've got 3 cars behind us. And he's got me in a death grip. And he said, I'm going to pray over you. And he started praying, and I don't remember all that he said, but I know some of the things he said that will stick with me for life because it has to do with my calling to preach his word. And he said, I'm going to pray over you and your family and your church. And he just sat there right in the booth. A guy in a booth in Denver is grabbing me and praying over Jessica and me on a trip that I was wondering whether or not God wanted me to go on. And all of a sudden, God's loud and clear. All right, I got it, God. I got to take out the earpiece now. And the guy's just calling down heaven while 4 cars are now backed up behind us. And that's not a made-up story, friend. That is my friend, Jesus. And listen, I'm not always a great friend to him. I'm not always a great friend to some of my friends. But he is a friend that sticks closer than a brother. And I'll finish where I started, and that is, he wants to be somebody's friend today. And all it takes is right on your lips. If you just say it. If you just say his name, really. I don't mean go into the motions. I mean if you were to really say his name, Jesus, if you just even whispered it in your heart, all of heaven would open up. You see, God is on his throne, and he can do whatever he wants, whenever he wants to do it. And what he wants to do right now is make a friend out of you if you just say his name. I wonder if somebody be so bold to, in your heart, you don't even have to confess in front of everybody like I did. Just in your own heart, say, Lord, that was a word for me. I haven't been a good friend. Forgive me. And let me tell you something about Jesus. He's not like us. He's more than ready to forgive. Like he likes to forgive. That's insane, isn't it? Like I like to play video games and watch TV. You know, he likes to forgive. And he wants to forgive you today. And he will. And he'll wipe the slate clean, and you'll start over. And he'll say, all right, let's run. Let's run this thing together. I'll be right here the whole time. And no matter if it's in the valley or on the mountaintop, he's going to be there because that's who he is. I am with you always, even to the end of the age. Will you be his friend today? I hope so. All you have to do is say his name today in a saving way, and his grace will fill your life, and you'll never be the same again. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, may it be so. Amen.